The third generation Ford Focus was released at an interesting cross-section in the timeline of Ford Motor Company's history. Historically, despite Ford being an American company, both Europe and Australia had their own market Ford vehicles with purpose-built designs to take on the competition. The third generation Focus would see these brought back under one roof, and with the Focus RS model, that meant that unlike the raucous front-wheel drive first and second generation with distinct European designs, a world effort was made as the North American SVT, European Team RS, and Australian FPV badges merged. This generation Focus RS would become a world market vehicle, meaning it didn't need to just impress European hot hatch enthusiasts or tickle the toes of dyed-in-the-wool Australian Ford fanboys and girls, but it also had to work in the ultra-competitive American market, where it would compete against cheap V8 muscle and import hot hatches. None of this worried Ford though. From the busy streets of London to the high-speed German autobahn and the harsh Australian backroads, Ford already had the expertise to make Americans from the California sun to snow-packed New England become Ford addicts all over again. Although it should be stressed, Ford really didn't need to sell the concept of the RS to North American buyers, as feedback from performance Ford customers was positive to finally adding the RS to the American market. The RS was revealed at the 2015 Geneva Motor Show, and it was clear this generation Focus RS would differ from those before it. All-wheel drive with torque vectoring and a 2.3 litre four-cylinder engine, unlike earlier Focus RS models, this generation would only be available as a 5-door model, and changeable modes for drivers to select including a drift mode. Production of the Focus RS ended in 2018, celebrated with final editions for the US and Canada in limited numbers, while UK buyers would be offered the last of the models, named Heritage Edition. Only 50 of these were built, and all were given a power boost thanks to the factory-fit Mountune FPM375 package. After this, the Ford Focus RS ended with a hiatus that at the time of this video has been 5 years long. Ford has since announced they would stop selling the Focus in America, and with weakening sales figures it is understood that the current Focus generation will be the first to go without an RS model. First in our buyer's guide we'll have the list of recalls that Ford announced for the RS model, followed by the common areas to check when buying a Focus RS. There was a single major recall that is now well documented. This was in response to head gasket failure. The recall was issued worldwide to the RS models built from August 3, 2015 to July 6, 2017. A new head gasket was fitted, and where applicable a new cylinder head was also installed. This recall has now officially ended, and proof of a recall should be included in the service history of affected vehicles. A side note is that the correct head gasket has a code starting G1FZ. Next up are the common faults to look out for when viewing a used Focus RS, and a reminder that our lists are non-exhaustive and that we try to only name common faults affecting a wide number of vehicles. But if you've owned an RS and feel we've missed something worth checking, please add it in the comments below. First up is a cosmetic issue. Some owners have reported the steering wheel material to be inferior to other manufacturers and have had to have the wheel retrimmed as the original material was flaking or peeling. Next up is that the exhaust flaps are supposed to open and close with different driving modes, but can remain stuck open. When viewing a vehicle, check that all drive modes are selectable, as the switch can become inoperative. Check that when different modes are selected, the drive and feel of the vehicle changes while on a test drive, and be sure that the system is operating. Due to the earlier mentioned recall, it is suggested to check the coolant level colour and level on any vehicle that you view. Checking the level will show if the coolant is leaking or being burnt in the combustion chamber, and in small amounts this may not give a discoloured exhaust. If there are any signs of mixing of coolant, an owner or dealer may have just topped up the coolant level prior to you viewing a vehicle to cover up a coolant leak. Any signs of oil in the coolant should be a clear indication of a problem. A small number of owners reported steering angle sensor failure, although these appear to have been resolved under warranty, but we suggest manoeuvring a vehicle at low speed wherever you can, from full left-hand steering lock to right-hand steering lock, to make sure no warnings appear on the dashboard. Rattles from the pillar trims inside the vehicle, along with a few other areas, have been reported. Most owners resolve these with double-sided tape, but it can take time and patience to track down some of the trim rattles, so if you find one that doesn't make any noise, take it as a positive buying signal. Finally, owners have reported high clutch wear, however it is unclear whether this is due to use. A few reports we found that owners spoke openly on did admit to several launch control starts, and so we would see how the clutch feels on any particular purchase and budget for replacement parts or an upgrade if it is weaker than you expect. Finally, although this is not a fault with the car, taller drivers should make sure that they are comfortable in the seating position before purchasing. The seat is high even in its lowest setting, and many owners that are over 6 feet tall or have longer upper bodies have reported feeling perched on the car rather than sitting in it. Next up is the engine, and in the Focus RS there was only one motor available for the 3 production years. The 2.3 litre 4-cylinder engine, codenamed Valencia, is the same as the 2.3 litre in the Ford Mustang of the same year, however it should be noticed the engines have different head gaskets and cooling channels. The engine produces 345 brake horsepower and 347 pound-feet of torque, with an official quote of 36 miles per gallon or 7.85 litres per 100 kilometres, although an official Mountune upgrade lifts power to 370 brake horsepower. This upgrade is coded FPM375 and may have been added by a Ford dealer when the car was new. Aside from the aforementioned head gasket and head failure, we found a small number of reports in 2 areas of the Focus RS motor. These were from turbos beginning to fail and a handful of reports of gearboxes needing rebuilding, however both of these came from owners admitting to putting in track time. Due to this, at the time of this video's production, the critical areas that should be checked on any engine are coolant and around the head for leaks. Several owners reported multiple head gasket and head repairs being needed before the engine was okay. This is likely caused by poor mating of the surfaces or warranty work carried out without the due diligence needed for such a repair. However, one plus of the motor is, apart from all the stories of head gasket issues, we found lots of owners that hadn't had a single issue with the motor once the recall was performed, including several owners that had tuned the motor above 450 horsepower, and so, as with any used purchase, be aware of the problems, but don't let it put you off buying a Focus RS if it is a car that you really want. Owners report many happy miles and fantastic road trips in their Focus RS, and this should be enough to remind potential buyers of the fun that can be had. Hopefully our guide will help you buy a good one. Our pick would be to go for a late 2017 or a 2018 year model, as these are believed to have had the head gasket issue resolved at the factory. If you've enjoyed our guide, then consider adding a like to help out the channel, and why not subscribe? You never know what car you might want next, but until then, all the best in your car search.